Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 19th day of June and the year of our Lord 2026. I previously did a Castle Report on Mother's Day and what it means, so today I will be talking about Father's Day, what that means, why it is important to honor fathers. Yes, we are 2 days away from Father's Day, which falls on the 21st of June this year. It is dedicated as a federal holiday falling on the third Sunday of June each year. This holiday was started in Spokane, Washington, back in 1910 by a woman named Snora Smart Dodd, who was inspired by a Mother's Day sermon. She wanted to honor her father in the same way. Her father was a Civil War veteran named William Jackson Smart, who was the father of 6 children. His wife died in childbirth, and he raised his 6 kids alone. His daughter thought that he had lived his life with honor, so she persuaded local authorities to set aside a day to honor her father and all the others. In 1972, President Nixon made it a federal occasion. Now we celebrate it each year by honoring or remembering our fathers. The National Retail Federation, NRF, tells us that the average gift per person given to each father in terms of dollars is $196.23. Interestingly, for this year, June 21st is also the summer solstice, or the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, which means it is the day of maximum daylight. So I guess we can spend more daytime at all those cookouts with our fathers. In this report, I will endeavor to make recognition of fathers something you can easily see as vitally important. Social scientists tell us that data overwhelmingly confirms that children born to their married parents have much better outcomes than children born to single mothers. The data indicates that children born to married parents are, quote, significantly more likely to be on track, end quote, at every life stage than children who are born to unmarried parents. Children who are on track, the reports say, are those who achieve age-appropriate benchmarks for every stage in life. At the end of elementary school, an on-track child has mastered basic math and reading skills, has behavioral competence that predict later success, has a strong relationship with parents, and is in good health from elementary school to adulthood. The child born to married parents is more likely to be on track, significantly so, than the child born to a single or unmarried parents. The report from which I am quoting said that even babies greatly benefit from married parents. A baby born to an unmarried mother is 3 times more likely to need Medicaid or other government assistance to pay for the delivery, and is twice as likely to have received late or no prenatal care. That child is twice as likely to be born prematurely, much more likely to be born at a low birth rate. That child is 14 times more likely to have been fathered by a man not identified on the birth certificate, 29% versus 2%. This all serves to illustrate the importance of fathers involved in the upbringing and in the lives of their children, but there's a lot more. The data also shows many other problems which present themselves when a father is not involved in the raising of a child. The study shows that the absence of a father leads to children who report feeling abandoned, struggling with their emotions, experiencing self-loathing, increased behavioral problems, poor academic performance, much higher rates of delinquency, youth crime, promiscuity, teen pregnancy, drug and alcohol abuse, and, of course, homelessness. If that were not all, fatherless children are at greater risk of suffering physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, many times more likely to experience physical and emotional maltreatment, with the risk of fatal abuse 100 times greater. The report from the Institute for Family Studies concludes that there is a growing list of disadvantages for children in households without fathers, but the report concludes that current U.S. welfare policies tend to encourage fatherlessness. The Current policies subsidize unmarried parenting by paying for prenatal care, delivery, and postnatal care while allowing the men who fathered the children to escape accountability. The authors of the article conclude that as a society, especially our churches, we have to start recognizing the value of fatherhood again. Our education system in general seems to be failing right now, and the belief is that our moral standards have fallen first, and a large part of that falling is how we view fathers. The poverty rate in the Black and Hispanic communities lowers by 80% when the parents are married. So why wouldn't fathers want to remain with the children they fathered? Why wouldn't people want to get married and remain married if the statistics I just recited are true? That's a good question. But it seems our society now sets up marriage to fail from the outset. There are many exceptions to that, such as mine, for example. I'm in the 49th year of my marriage. Many people ask me how I do it because they recognize that lifetime commitment is unusual enough to deserve explanation. To continue the point of absent fathers and no marriage, I reviewed a recent report done by the American Enterprise Institute in which the authors looked at the issue from a purely economic standpoint. The report was entitled, quote, "Land of Opportunity, Advancing the American Dream," end quote. From their report, I learned that one of the chief things causing failure, or at least lack of success, is the gap between married and non-married Americans in the middle of the last century. And I'm talking about the 1900s here, folks. 1 in 20 children were born out of wedlock. Now it's 2 in 5. America has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent homes, 23% in the U.S. against 7% internationally. 40% of millennials from intact two-parent families graduated from college. 77% achieved middle-class incomes or higher. For those who didn't grow up in intact families, only 17% graduated from college. 57% achieved middle-class income. They are twice as likely to be incarcerated even after other socioeconomic factors are considered. Quoting from the article for just a moment, quote, "Research using tax return data suggests that neighborhoods with high rates of single-parenthood cultivate lower social mobility, including among kids who themselves are not raised by single parents." So it affects everybody, not just the kids that are living with single parents, but all of them. The conclusion from the research is that absence of fathers on their offspring has very long-term negative effects on the well-being of children. The study concludes that among all races, marriage protects against poverty from a personal perspective. I can tell you that for 46 years, I counsel thousands of people in my law office. My conclusion has always been, and I've always told people, that divorce, especially for women and their children, leads to a life of poverty. Married parents, regardless of race and education, suffer significantly less poverty than unmarried mothers. Another interesting thing about these reports is that the phenomenon is not happening evenly. It seems to have a self-perpetuating pattern. For example, from 1970 to 2018, marital births dropped by 29 points overall, but they dropped by 47 points for the bottom education group, just 6 points for the top. From the early 1960s to the late 2010s, marriage rates fell by roughly 46 percentage points for the least educated young women compared to 17 points for the most educated, which leaves those least able to bear the cost of a single parenthood the most likely to experience it. Government, for whatever reason, seems to be putting its thumb on the scale to tilt the outcome against marriage. The institution of marriage is obviously the most important factor in raising children and for income mobility, but that is not how the government views it, apparently. For example, a couple with 2 kids, with each parent earning $30,000 per year, receives around $5,000 in earned income tax credit benefits if they remain unmarried. They lose all those benefits if they get married, which is in effect a tax on marriage. Medicaid, housing vouchers, SNAP benefits all phase out and punish couples who get married, whereas they do not if the couples live together without marriage. It seems that careful research keeps finding the same conclusion regarding economic success and opportunities for children despite efforts to debunk that information. In conclusion, folks, I would like to thank the occasion that is Father's Day for the opportunity to be honored by my wife and our daughter. In addition, the occasion gives me the opportunity to talk about something besides war, the opportunity to put into words something that I have observed myself over a very long legal career. Speaking of families, folks, I have a family obligation next week, so there is no Castle report next Friday. Finally, folks, may God bless you and your family. If you can't visit your father on Sunday, at least give him a call, because I'll tell you, he will be so glad you did. At least that's the way I see it. Until next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.